I want to warmly welcome you all to tonight's presentation of the 2024 Adela Dwyer St. Thomas of Villanova Peace Award. This year, we are thrilled to be recognizing World Central Kitchen. This organization now joins the ranks of esteemed past recipients, including Archbishop Desmond Tutu, the Poor People's Campaign, Lema Bowie, Father Greg Boyle, the Coalition of Immokalee Workers, and Brian Stevenson. I'd like to thank members of the Villanova University Peace Award Committee, including its chair, Tim Horner. And I'd like to express my gratitude to all the amazing faculty and staff of the Center for Peace and Justice Education, most particularly Katie Linehan, who was instrumental in bringing this evening together. Additionally, my thanks go out to several programs on campus who have helped to support our evening tonight. The Center for Global and Public Health in the College of Nursing, the Moran Center for Global Leadership in the School of Business, and in the College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, the Ethics Program, the Department of Communication, and the Department of Global Interdisciplinary Studies. Finally, I'd like to thank two colleagues who you'll be hearing from in a moment. First, Dr. Chiji Akoma. Dr. Akoma will be offering a formal introduction of World Central Kitchen, and the representative here tonight, Laura Hayes, Senior Manager of WCK's Chef Corps. Dr. Akoma is the chair of the Department of Global Interdisciplinary Studies and professor in the Department of English, specializing in post-colonial studies and African diaspora literatures. Dr. Akoma has been a leading figure in promoting teaching and learning through global interdisciplinary studies here at Villanova, a department that imparts to its students a keen sense of shared humanity through rigorous inquiry into issues of global significance. Following the formal introduction of our award recipient, we have the honor of welcoming Father Kevin DiPrinzio, Vice President for Mission and Ministry, who will officially present the 2024 Adela Dwyer St. Thomas of Villanova Peace Award on behalf of the university. Through his words, example, and collaborative spirit, Father Kevin has consistently invited our Villanova community to a deeper sense of our Catholic Augustinian mission, finding ways to call us to our better selves in the humbling work of honoring human dignity far and wide. You can see these two individuals are well poised to be part of this evening's event. There can be no question of a desperate and urgent need for greater peace in our world. Peace must be built, cultivated, especially in those moments that we leave one another's humanity in doubt. I am profoundly grateful for this opportunity to gather tonight to celebrate and to learn from Laura Hayes and World Central Kitchen. And I am thankful to my colleagues, Dr. Akoma and Father Kevin, for their help as well. So I now turn the floor to you, Chiji.
Thank you, Catherine. Good evening. At this moment, I would like to join Dr. Catherine Getek-Soltis and the faculty and staff of the Center for Peace and Justice Education in the Office of Mission and Ministry here at Villanova University to welcome you to the 2024 Adela Dwyer St. Thomas of Villanova Peace Award. This ceremony, as you've heard from Dr. Getek-Soltis, is in recognition and to award that our Peace Award to World Central Kitchen. Founded in 2010 by Chef José Andrés, World Central Kitchen, WCK, is a nonprofit organization that is first to the front lines, providing fresh meals in response to crises. Applying its effective model of quick action, leveraging local resources, and adapting in real time, WCK has served more than 400 million nourishing meals around the world. When disaster strikes, WCK's relief team mobilizes with the urgency of now to start cooking and serving meals to people in need. By partnering with organizations on the ground and activating a network of local restaurants, food trucks, or emergency kitchens, WCK serves comforting meals to families impacted by disasters quickly and effectively. WCK has become a beacon of hope in some of the world's most turbulent regions, embodying the idea that food is not only for sustenance, but food can also be a vehicle for peace and reconciliation. Whether in the war-torn streets of Ukraine or amidst the rubble in Gaza, Israel, Beirut, or following devastating earthquakes in Haiti, WCK has provided not only nourishment, but also a sense of community and support. And they have done this at the risk of their own lives. They have entered into theaters of war and suffered and borne the brunt of such violent episodes. You heard about the most recent one in just a couple of months ago. It is that kind of dedication to seek the sustenance of victims of violent acts in very violent theaters of war and conflict that has made this particular nonprofit organization a formidable one, and one which we tonight celebrate. To support regional economies, WCK prioritizes purchasing local ingredients to cook with or distribute directly to families in need. They know that good food provides not only nourishment, but also comfort and hope, especially in times of crisis. It is that mission that we celebrate tonight. It is that objective, singular in its mission, that we celebrate tonight through this award. And here to accept the award is Ms. Laura Hayes, the Senior Manager of the Chef Core Program at WCK. As the Senior Manager of the Chef Core Program, Ms. Hayes is among WCK's global network of 450 prominent culinary leaders who champion WCK's work, providing fresh meals following crisis. And I'm emphasizing fresh because we're not talking about, just run-of-the-mill kinds of meals. They are nourishing meals, delicious meals, meals with a heart and love in it, cooked with love and heart. And so Ms. Hayes is part of that. Thanks to their generosity, adaptability, and visibility, Chef Core members are uniquely positioned to accelerate and amplify what WCK can accomplish when they arrive first to the front lines. Prior to joining the team at WCK, Laura served as a journalist on the hospitality industry beat for a decade. She worked as a freelance food, drink, and travel writer, contributing to Washington Post, Washington Post Express, Food Network, Washingtonian, Capital File, DC Refined, Edible, Arlington Magazine, Bethesda Magazine, and more. Her award-winning coverage as the food editor of Washington City Paper covered how restaurants can be more welcoming to diners with disabilities, the mental health crisis in restaurants, and how food intersects with politics, labor, race, and immigration, and the environment. You've also heard her on CNN, Sirius XM, WTOP, WAMU's Kojo Nnamdi Show, NBC4, Fox 5 DC, and more. And something that interests my department, GIS, Global Interdisciplinary Studies, at one time, Laura taught English in rural Japan for 2 years. A Philly native, she lives in Washington, D.C., where WCK is headquartered. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be inviting Father Kevin to come here, but let's give a round of applause also to Laura Hayes.
Good evening, everyone. My business is to care for the needy who come to my door. Giving alms is not just giving, but also removing the need and releasing the needy person from their needs whenever possible. These are words spoken by St. Thomas of Villanova, our university's patron and for whom this Peace Award is named. He literally opened the doors of the friary where he lived to welcome, to feed, to nourish all those in need in his midst. And as we heard so beautifully stated by Dr. Akoma and Dr. Catherine Geddick-Soltis, I don't know why I said Catherine Geddick instead of... Anyway, it wasn't here, written in here. For the past 14 years, since their founding, World Country Kitchen has made it their business to do likewise, expanding what it means to encounter those in need at their door by going to the front lines of crises, and not simply providing meals for communities in need or those who are suffering or being displaced, but working alongside with, in relationship, in a true spirit of hospitality and mutuality. And so, it is my honor, because of its outstanding contributions to the understanding of the meaning and conditions for justice and peace in human communities, the Villanova University community proudly and humbly presents the 2024 Adela Dwyer St. Thomas of Villanova Peace Award to World Central Kitchen. And after Dr. Akoma's remarks, I don't know about you, but I feel completely privileged that we have Laura Hayes accepting this award on WCK's behalf.
Okay, thank you everyone for the most charitable introduction of me of all time. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Thank you, Villanova University. Thank you to the Center of Peace and Justice Education. And most importantly, thank you to all of the young people out in this room who care deeply about this topic, who I hope graduate soon and start helping immediately. We need you. So thank you for making time tonight on a Tuesday. And I'd love to tell you a little bit about WCK. So this award comes at a moment where we have had our most challenging and transformational time in the organization's nearly 15-year history. We are carrying out our most life-saving responses to date in the Middle East and in Ukraine, while also responding to increasing natural disasters that are increasing in both severity and in frequency. We have had to use every lesson we've learned operating in harsh conditions over the past 15 years to meet the tremendous need for aid in conflict zones and overcome obstacles we've never encountered before. As always, letting locals lead the way and leaning on our core values of adaptability, community, dignity, resilience, hope, and humanity has been critical. Before I share stories from the ground tied to these values, I'd love to set the table by telling you a little bit about our background and how exactly we provide meals after emergencies. So our origin dates back to 2010, when there was that devastating earthquake in Haiti. Our founder, Chef José Andrés, went on a listening tour with several future founders of World Central Kitchen and learned how to support the community as it recovered. Jose quickly realized that his entire profession of cooks could be doing far more in the aftermath of disasters. And most importantly, they learned that food aid had a lot of room for improvement if it was going to truly nourish people during their most difficult times where they had just lost everything. While he was in Haiti, there was a defining moment that shaped how and why we still do our work today. Jose was making black beans and rice for a group of Haitian women. Upon serving them, he realized no one was touching their beans, and Jose is not used to people sending their food back. The problem was he hadn't served the beans in the typical way Haitians eat them, in a beautiful silky puree called sauce poana. The women graciously taught him how to prepare it. From then on, it was a priority for the organization to serve meals that are culturally appropriate, exactly what people would normally eat in times of comfort, whether that's chicken and dumplings in Kentucky or mujadara in Gaza. 7 years later, in 2017, WCK was tested to its limits and found its way when responding to Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, the worst storm to hit the island in almost a century. Our strategies and our values started to formulate as we figured out how to feed an island. A group of chefs, cooks, food trucks, and delivery drivers all banded together to cook hundreds of thousands of meals with urgency. When people are hungry, they're hungry now, not in a week when the red tape comes down. That's why we try to arrive first to the front lines. And we have been cooking every day since 2017. And that means that we have served more than 400 million meals in response to crises. The goal is always the same: to provide nourishing, culturally appropriate meals with urgency and with dignity. We do this by working shoulder to shoulder with the local community instead of swooping in from above with a one-size-fits-all plan or the same set of recipes. Let's pause to learn a little more about WCK. So to zoom in a little bit, there are two main ways that we provide meals after emergencies. The first is to set up a field kitchen capable of cooking thousands of meals at a time. Sometimes we utilize existing kitchens, other times we build them from the ground up. Teams made up of WCK staff and local volunteers prepare and package hot meals that are delivered to convenient distribution points for pickup. We do not ask if you need a meal, we ask how many. For example, after Hurricane Ian, we moved into the facility where the Minnesota Twins do their spring training in Fort Myers, Florida. It was perfect because there were dorms on site where we could sleep. They had the kind of equipment we love, like tilt skillets that can cook thousands of portions at a time, and there was plenty of room to set up those gargantuan paella pans that we're known for. Other times, there's no infrastructure, so we have to build kitchens, like after the devastating earthquakes in Turkey and Syria. We set up about 12 kitchens, and one of them we used our deployable kitchen unit, which is a pop-up kitchen in a box that kind of looks like a geodesic dome. You may have caught a glimpse of it in that video. But we can ship it and set it up within a couple of hours, and then all of our cooks have shelter to do their work. The second strategy of working with partners evolved out of Hurricane Maria and during the global pandemic. In the immediate aftermath of a disaster, we can get cooking almost immediately by partnering with local food trucks, restaurants, and caterers. WCK pays for the meals that they prepare for their neighbors, which stimulates the local economy and helps it recover at the same time as the region. During the pandemic, we served 40 million meals and dispersed $172 million directly to restaurants in 400 cities. This allowed many of them to keep their staff employed. And since the pandemic, we have utilized partners in almost every response. Food trucks in particular are the perfect emergency feeding solution. We can send them where the need is the greatest, they can scale up quickly, they don't need the same utilities to operate as a restaurant, and they're often woman or BIPOC owned, the kinds of businesses we love to support. With both kitchens and partners, we strive to buy locally, hire locally, and bring on local volunteers. Just as we have with hurricanes, tornadoes, and border crises, we are using both of these methods in Ukraine and the Middle East. In fact, we have had to use every lesson from the past 14, 15 years to inform how we're able to operate in conflict zones. In each location, we have Ukrainians feeding Ukrainians, Palestinians feeding Palestinians, Israelis feeding Israelis, and Lebanese feeding Lebanese. Now I'd like to share some stories from the ground that reflect our mission, our values, and some of the incredible people who do this work every day, starting with hope. In the face of disaster, it can feel impossible to find hope for the future, and yet glimmers of hope are everywhere when you stop to look. They're in the face of a child, their smile. They're in a helping hand from a neighbor or a cherished photo. At WCK, we provide hope any way we can. Sometimes we get creative after listening to the communities that we serve. WCK often provides more than meals. Sometimes potable water is the focus, like right now in Asheville, North Carolina. Sometimes we'll partner with local farmers markets to provide produce boxes to people who are able to cook again, like we did after the Maui fires. Or during holidays, we'll try to meet the moment with culturally appropriate treats or toys for children. In Ukraine, we have a Seeds of Hope program. In Ukraine, fruits and vegetables have been hard to come by for many households. Since Russia's invasion began, countless Ukrainians haven't been able to grow food in their home gardens, a common practice for more than half of Ukrainian households before the war. They face challenges including the constant threat of attack, damaged infrastructure, a disrupted financial system, and a lack of access to seeds. Agriculture is so important in Ukraine. Just look at the flag, which represents a wheat field in the blue sky. It's culturally important even at the smallest level. The plots where gardens would typically grow are barren or sometimes littered with mines. Families lack the necessary resources they need to grow. Despite these hurdles, many Ukrainians are determined to grow their own food. So to support these efforts, we provided seed kits containing a variety of produce, including cucumbers, beets, dill, onions, and peas, which to my Ukrainian brain says, these are the ingredients of borscht, so I'm good to go. In the first round of this program in 2023, we provided 165,000 seed kits and returned to see the harvested goods. We met a woman named Lita in Donetsk who grew vegetables from WCK seed kits and used them to make meals with a neighbor. They cooked together in a kitchen they built together after their apartment building was damaged by shelling. We are approaching our third full year of our response in Ukraine, where we have served almost 275 million meals. Our teams are constantly adapting to shifting needs and lately have been heavily involved in emergency response. There are fresh evacuation orders given with little notice. We follow Ukrainian families on their journeys to safety, ensuring they have a sandwich to eat along the way and something warm to savor when they arrive. And those who cannot leave home, we meet them where they are so they are not alone. If there are bomb attacks on residential areas, our teams are there within hours, supporting first responders and residents as they search through the rubble. We invite you to watch a video that captures our first 2 years on the ground in Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Next, I'd like to talk about resilience. When I think of resilience, I think of Chef Aline. She is a chef, and chefs like Aline and Jose never give up. On August 4th, 2020, an explosion rocked the port of Beirut, Lebanon. Hundreds were killed, thousands injured, and hundreds of thousands displaced from their homes. Chef Aline was on the terrace of her fine dining restaurant. The explosion threw her and her staff to the floor, and she lost consciousness. The next thing she remembers is she was performing CPR on a colleague and then carried others down many flights of stairs to their safety. Within a week, Aline's team was back at work, cooking thousands of meals, including lahmacun, alongside WCK at her other restaurant that survived the blast. It became a hub of WCK's operations. Aline is now leading our response in Lebanon. We started providing meals there through partners in October 2023 as refugees began to arrive. But when we needed to scale up, we brought in Aline. As the population of displaced families grows, Chef Aline and her teams are in overdrive trying to meet demand. In early September, WCK increased its meal production in Lebanon from 6,000 to 8,000 meals per day. Days later, we ramped up to 20,000 meals a day. And after allocating further resources and adding staff, the team is able to surpass 50,000 daily meals to reach the growing need for aid. We're also a logistics organization, in case you haven't picked up on that. Dignity. In Gaza, Chef Yasmin serves on our quality monitoring team, which conducts field visits to ensure our community kitchens are meeting standards. These kitchens are run independently by Palestinians, with WCK providing cooking equipment, ingredients, and support. She looks at various aspects of food preparation, cleanliness, and storage methods. She says they prioritize training kitchen staff on the latest health practices and advanced cooking techniques that help preserve the nutritional value of meals. Even in dire conditions, the quality and safety of our food is of utmost importance. It's how we serve communities with dignity and respect. The quality monitoring team's work is critical to keeping our meals safe and healthy, while also giving Palestinian kitchen staff the tools and knowledge to grow and improve. Yasmin says, "We believe that investing in the skills of our workers and ensuring they adhere to the highest standards of safety and quality is the best way to achieve food security and provide delicious and healthy food to beneficiaries in Gaza." Community. Communities are our superpower at WCK. Having locals show us the way was the impetus behind our Chef Corps program, our global network of 450 prominent culinary leaders who support our relief work. There's a reason WCK is a chef-driven organization. So far, you've heard about Chef Aline, Chef Yasmin, and of course, Chef Jose. Chefs are adaptable problem solvers who are comfortable working in chaos when everything doesn't go according to plan. Most importantly, chefs tend to be some of the most connected and trusted people in their communities. If we need to respond to a crisis in a Chef Corps member's home region or another region they're deeply familiar with, they will act as a local liaison and plug us into their local connections and contacts. I look for the true culinary mayors of their towns when recruiting. Their job is to help us get the lay of the land and help us get cooking as quickly as possible. They cut down on the cold calls my colleagues on our relief team have to make, with urgency always being the goal. Chef Belinda is a Chef Corps member. When Hurricane Beryl ripped through the Caribbean in June 2024, it was the earliest forming Category 5 hurricane on record. WCK spread out across several islands to meet immediate food and water needs. Chef Belinda was the heart and soul of this response in her native Grenada, where she is known for using traditional cooking techniques and ingredients like fruits and starches to bring attention to Grenadian cuisine. She helped WCK teams set up a kitchen with familiar cooking equipment, staff it with volunteers, supply recipes she knew her neighbors would love, and motivated everyone around her with her infectious can-do attitude. She calls a hot meal a symbol of comfort, of family, and of community. Adaptability. In emergencies, chefs leading the way don't always have their choice of equipment. In Gaza, a major challenge Palestinians face is a lack of cooking fuel, like propane. This was also our major obstacle when our teams had to overcome to begin cooking at scale to meet the overwhelming need for food. WCK worked quickly on a solution, as we always do. A design for stoves that use wood pellets as fuel and fans to stoke the flames so that we can heat large quantities at a time. Our teams connected with local manufacturers in Egypt to produce the stoves that are then transported to Gaza along with the rest of our food supplies and kitchen equipment. These stoves are now being used by hundreds of our Palestinian employees in our kitchens across Gaza to cook thousands of meals a day. To date, we have served more than 75 million meals in Gaza. Humanity. Finally, this year, another word has driven and motivated our teams, and not just humanity, but humanity first. Since October 2023, families in Gaza, Israel, and Lebanon have been reeling from devastating conflict that has caused profound loss of life and forced millions to flee their homes, some several times. Innocent families are caught in the middle of escalating violence. Our teams are committed to providing aid to anyone who needs it and are continuously adapting our strategies to reach more people. I invite you to watch our Humanity First video capturing our first year in the Middle East to see how we've responded the WCK way. We've adapted, we've partnered, we've moved with the urgency of now, and we've persevered even after suffering losses of our own. Our work continues. We remain determined as ever to support families in war-torn communities. In addition to scaling up in Lebanon, we are readying our teams in Gaza for the long winter ahead. We're outfitting our Palestinian colleagues with the gear they need to continue their life-saving work, in addition to growing the capacities of our kitchens. In Israel, we continue to look for vulnerable families who have no form of food aid to sustain themselves and are partnering with local restaurants to meet that need. And we do all of this work with the humanitarians we've lost in our hearts, people whose lives were taken while simply hoping to help, not just our teammates, but humanitarian workers around the world. Thank you again for this tremendous honor.
Thank you again. Excuse me. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, World Central Kitchen. I think your words, these videos are incredibly powerful. It's truly mind-boggling to imagine the logistics, the scale, but more than that, the kind of hope and commitment that you need to go into these places of disaster, of desperation, and to be a source of looking for how you get to the next hour, to the next day. It's incredible. We're really blessed by your presence, by your witness, by this prophetic voice of what humanity needs and deserves. So thank you. So in conversation with our award recipients, we've decided to end our evening in a slightly different way than we typically do. In the Center for Peace and Justice Education, we've noticed a missed opportunity often when we gather in spaces like this. We hear from incredible speakers, incredible organizations, but we often miss the opportunity to be shaped by one another. So instead of taking this time for Q&A tonight, I have 2 questions for you to do some work on right now here. My first question for you that I'm asking you, and we're going to take a few minutes, 3-4 minutes, to turn to the people around you. And I want you to share with one another a story, a quote, a fact, an image, something that you've heard tonight that is sticking with you, that is lingering with you, that has struck you in some way. And then I'm going to come back and I have a second question that we're going to ask. So I'd like you to humor me now and to turn to the people sitting by you who have just heard what you've heard, but you're all receiving it in different ways. Turn for the next 3 or 4 minutes. Please share with one another what has struck you, what is holding with you now after you've heard these incredible stories, these incredible words of witness. Go ahead, and I'll be back with question 2. Okay, thank you all. I appreciate you doing that. And now here is the second question for you. I know you're not done yet. So my question now, given what you've reflected on, what you're holding from what we've received tonight, what questions do you want to pursue as a result of that? How does this, especially for you who are students, how does this affect what you study, what classes you're going to take? How does this impact what you want to contribute to the world right now, or what you're hoping to contribute in the future? What are you going to do? And essentially, based on what you've received tonight, how is it going to change what you're going to do? And how is it going to change the lives of people who are connected to you? That's your question. Share with one another. No, small question. Share with one another for a few more minutes, okay? And I'll come back. All right. Some calls to action, I hope. So here's my last question for you. I know, and I'm not going to make you do it. I know. So far, so good. I know. I did. This is extra credit bonus. You won't have to break into groups for this one. So you've listened to one another. How many people, by a show of hands, have you been energized by something you heard from someone else? Have you been impressed? Have you been inspired? Have you been something opened up and eyes opened wider by something that you heard just from someone that you were sitting next to? Show of hands, energized, impressed, inspired. Okay, good, not bad. Which means that there are people in this room who've already started impacting other people by what you've heard and how it's affecting you. So what I need you to do is to continue to go forward from this room tonight and continue to impact other people by sharing this witness, sharing this inspiration, sharing this knowledge, this example that we've all been able to receive tonight from World Central Kitchen. Thank you, Laura. Thank you for your incredible organization. Thank you for being a part of our evening tonight and our future to come.